Hello, everyone, and this is Cole Nichols presenting the Immigration and Sociology project dealing with immigration in the United States after 9/11. Now I'm presenting on behalf of Jackson Riney, myself, and Timmy Williams today. So, our thesis was immigration security in the United States changed drastically after the September 11th attacks in 2001 through increased funding and government intervention towards the immigration systems. So in 2016, there were 43 million Americans in the U.S. out of a total population of 330 million Americans, which is quite a large number. So we have 314 closed survey responses, and 93% of these responses believe immigration security has increased after 9/11. 75% also say increased funding towards immigration customs enforcement has contributed the most to the increase in this security. And about 2/3 of people believe immigrants should be processed through security more severely based on these responses. So from 2000 to 2014, 8 million immigrants entered the U.S., which serves as an 87% population growth by immigrants. These are some of our results from the closed surveys, as you can see in the top left. The question was, do you feel as immigration security has increased after 9/11? 102 participants strongly agree with this. 190 participants just agree with this. They're kind of iffy on it. 20 participants disagree with immigration security increasing after 9/11. And 2 participants strongly disagree with this statement that is made. Question 2 was, what do you think contributed the most to immigration security after 9/11? The consensus was that 234 participants said increased funding to immigration customs was the leading factor. 40 participants said more spending on deportation. 22 participants said tying immigration enforcement to federal agents, and 18% of participants said turning local police officers into Border Patrol agents in Texas. That was that. And question 3, is the average immigrant innocent until proven guilty or guilty until proven is innocent? The consensus was that 147 participants said innocent until proven guilty, 96 said guilty until proven innocent, and then 71 actually said neither, which was almost 25% of our votes there. Question 4 was, to what extent was the immigration policy in the U.S. enforced before 9/11? Only 9 said all, plus 90% of all immigrants coming into the U.S. 69% said more than half, which is about 25% of the pie chart there. 195 was a general consensus, saying less than half of all immigrants, and then 41 responses was for 1 in every 10,000 immigrants was being enforced. Should amnesty be allowed for illegal immigrants with children? 52 people strongly agree, 95 participants agreed, 132 participants was the general consensus, they disagreed with that statement, and then 35 participants strongly disagreed. The consensus on number 6 was they agree with that statement of, is there a risk allowing refugees in the United States? Question 7 was, is the current immigration system in the U.S. fair to immigrants? The consensus was they agreed with that statement, while not far behind, 101 participants actually disagreed with this statement. Do you feel as immigrants should be processed through security more severely or less severely? The general consensus was they should be processed more severely, which serves as about 66% or 2/3 there. So we had 25 open survey responses. 14 out of the 25 people stated that they believe that the current immigration policy in the U.S. should be improved. Along with that, 12 out of the 25 people believe the system isn't fair towards immigrants. The majority of these statements added that the process to become a citizen should be quicker. And there was also a split on whether or not the immigrants help or hurt the U.S. economy. So, key takeaways from the interview with Rebecca Sem from Catholic Charities. The current system for U.S. immigration is broken and must be reformed, she said. Policies should be changed to focus more on family unity. And because background checks are now so extensive, the process of becoming a U.S. citizen takes a very long time, and I can agree with this statement. She also said, as a result of recent tightening of laws, America has gone backwards in the past several years in terms of the immigration policy, and that was kind of stated back there from our open survey question. And then also she said, as history shows, these tightening of laws has functioned to exclude certain people from their rights. And that was kind of going back to question 1 of the closed survey, saying, has the immigration policy ramped up in that case? So some key takeaways from the interview with J.P. Albuquerque, an immigrant from Brazil. He said, is it too time-consuming to become a U.S. citizen? That was the question imposed. One way to fix this issue is through hiring more employees to make the process more efficient. And then he also said many people migrate to the U.S. illegally because of fear for their lives as well as their families' lives. That's a big one there. The cost and time necessary for filing paperwork to get in legally, because that can take a couple years. That can be a very long process, and a lot of people just don't have that much time. So ever since 9/11, the immigration policies have become much more strict, JP said. So our key conclusions and findings from research. Many responses from the surveys were correct. Just a year after 9/11, President George W. Bush passed the Homeland Security Act, which oversaw multiple new agencies such as the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and then all of these agencies require large amounts of funding from the government. Many of these laws were directly targeted toward Muslim countries. And then although 9/11 was a terrorist attack in New York City put together by Muslims, Hispanic people, mainly coming from the southern border, the Hispanic people have mostly been affected by these laws, even though it was from Muslim territories. The number of deportations doubled just 10 years after 9/11 in 2011. Many new detention centers were built after 9/11, and increased tension between Americans and immigrants became evident after 9/11. So in conclusion, because of 9/11, more funding went towards immigration security in America. Tension also began to increase between Americans and immigrants, and stricter laws were enacted to fight terrorism. From the research, it is evident that the public still believes in strict security for immigrants coming to the U.S. However, many people believe there are issues with increased security, such as the amount of time it takes to become a U.S. citizen and whether or not the citizen is truly fair towards immigrants. Thank you for listening today, and have a good one.